Greetings to the 168th Episcopal Diocese of Iowa Convention. I'm Ellen Bruckner, and I'm reporting on the Engaging All Disciples cohort experience. In 2018, we again came together to listen and identify those shared ministry areas most important to the group. From these Engaging All Disciples conversations, 7 ministry areas shared by many in the diocese emerged. The diocese embarked on an adventure of engaging these 7 areas in a format new to us. 54 people interested in these 7 ministry areas gathered at the Summer Ministries School and Retreat in Grinnell in the summer of 2019 for a weekend of introduction to a year-long journey in engaging these ministries. With some of the funds so generously donated to Engaging All Disciples, we hired a coach for each of the 7 ministry cohorts, and the coach supported and encouraged the growth of participants in each of these cohorts. Following the ministry school weekend, participants met regularly with their coaches online until May of 2020. I'm happy to share reflections from some of these participants in this journey. What part of this cohort process did you find the most beneficial or important for you?
The track at Grinnell, as well as it started, would have been a waiting experience, but somehow by continuing it over the course of a year, I felt like I was swimming in very deep, wonderful water.
I think what was really fascinating for me was when we started out at Grinnell, we were really talking about like, how do you do new ministries and all the creativity that goes into that. And what evolved over the year was a recognition that we were all doing a lot of different ministry. And so then asking, how do we sustain ourselves in that? And how do we allow the creativity to remain without completely going off the edge and exhausting ourselves? So that shift was really valuable to me.
So we started defining the question, and we started small with what happens here. You know, what did you do? What's your neighborhood? And we had goals in mind. We were going to do something in each of our churches and grow, and we were going to really do something locally. And we ended up moving on into materiality as resistance, which Ellen has done a program of 7 weeks. We've ended up looking differently. We've ended up looking nationally, globally, and especially in this time of COVID, in this time of Black Lives Matter, and all of the social justice issues that we're dealing with, we've ended up really looking at who is your neighbor, and not who's your neighbor in your church or who's your neighbor in your church neighborhood. We've ended up with who really is your neighbor. So that was probably the most beneficial journey for me ever.
By staying with the same question for an entire year, it kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. And one thing I really gained from our coach was her positive affirmations of, you're doing this. All of you are doing this ministry. Do you understand how well you are delving into this question?
Yes.
And that affirmation was like, we are? Is how I felt. But just as Zeb was saying, it's that recognition that started to come as who our neighbor is, what is our ministry, what is ministry all about, who is God calling us to be, who is God calling us to be engaged with, and to see life in a different way. That was very powerful. But I appreciated so much that just it was that question again and again and again, asked in different ways, but going deeper. And with other people who wanted to continue asking the same question as well.
When something really, really hits you deep, it means so much more to you. And I think this all would have gone away and I would have moved on to other silly things if it had not been for the cohort portion of the track.
A small group, but task-oriented purpose and design. So whoever created the overall design, I think, did a very good job in laying out the opportunity for some self-guided activities, but also for guidance from our coach or our leader. So I picked a couple of different projects, and every time we had our individual meetings, there was an opportunity to not only establish deadlines, but also to receive critical feedback on were your action steps realistic.
I don't think if we had not had this cohort that I would have discovered Jean Davis, who was working on the same thing I was working on. So it helped enormously that we were both interested in broadly criminal justice reform, but narrowly doing something to restore felon voting rights. So we were involved in doing that, and it helped so much to spread the work, to do some certain things together, to learn from each other, to advocate together. That was really helpful.
I guess as a coach and sort of coming from the public policy area, we focus a lot on federal level advocacy. And so it was really helpful for me to learn the ways that people at a state level or local level are engaging with that. And, I've known that a lot of the principles of advocacy and strategies are very similar, and whether you're focused at federal, state, or local level. And so to be able to kind of test that out and respond to people, hopefully help them in their process of doing state and local advocacy, and to see that be successful.
I thought was most beneficial was the opportunity to get to know other people across the diocese and have conversations that really mattered. It was a powerful process, and I really appreciate the chance to do this.
Coaches were selected because they were either trained as a coach or they had some expertise in that ministry area. So how important is the role of coach in this process?
So we had ministry coaches that we met with both as a group and individually. And that was really beneficial to have that, especially that individual phone call, being able to go through like what's going on in my own ministry, what's, where can I shift and grow, and have you thought about this idea? But also getting together with their coach and exploring like what is the challenges for the group. That was really helpful to have an outside party.
Having somebody say, okay, I will lead this group, wasn't telling us what to do, but it was a way of keeping us on task and pulling us together. Kind of a sense of summation as well.
It was very important, not because I didn't necessarily need him to be, over my shoulder. When I couldn't join the monthly call, I would always set out an email what I was doing, and I would get feedback, written feedback. But I thought it was important to have somebody who has so much critical knowledge on how you engage in public advocacy and how you network. But I liked the accountability of it too. I liked being held to, some, other person to account to for your action steps. I didn't think of it in any way that I was going to be graded or anything like that, but I appreciated the opportunity to have a professional say yay or nay on, this idea or something that I was thinking about.
I think the coach was very important in helping identify the important questions.
Absolutely. I think that the coach provided insight, questioned when you were kind of vacillating, helped you come to an end point or an action point at least.
Most of us reflect informally or formally on what we learn from our experiences. And for many of us, this cohort process was a new experience. So my question is about the learning. So what are the growth areas? Where are the growth areas? What kinds of growth did you recognize in yourself because of this experience?
Was most important to me, and what I got out of it more than anything else, was the awareness that the answers I was looking for, or the journey I was seeking, the answers were inside of me all along.
I moved from a small town church view to a world view, and that is the best.
So it's had a very great effect on me and how I view what I need to do in life.
And I agree completely with Jim. If we had just had the Grinnell experience, it would have been dipping our toes in the shallow end.
Yeah.
It was the long-term effect that was far more beneficial.
Two things. It's public advocacy is something that you have to commit to and see it as a long process, because legislative process is so slow and naturally slow.
Right.
But to see it as something as like the long haul, I think is one thing that I'll take away from it. I want to stay involved in these projects, so that's another thing that I take away from it. But I think for me personally, it also gave me a sense of confidence to undertake a small project by myself and then just try to build, educate, spread the word.
I feel like I learned so much from each person that was in there. I mean, hearing your feedback, Jeanie, and from others too, people learned from me and the expertise I was able to share, but feel like I learned just as much, if not more, the other way around.
The skills that I learned there is really going to be important for me. So I'm very grateful to have had this experience.
The process that I was always coached through about, what is it that you want to do? What do you need? Who do you need to help you? And I think I've learned about seeking out other people to collaborate with new ideas.
Personally, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to explore this kind of formation process. I feel individuals benefited from the ongoing check-ins and from sharing with others who share similar passions in ministry. I'm grateful for those 54 individuals who said yes and dedicated quite a bit of time and energy to growing in their ministry. The diocese and their communities are certainly the richer for their work. Thank you.